effing thing sucks. Hey, we are live now. Welcome, everybody. Happy Friday. You made it through another week. Congratulations. You do deserve a pat on the back. You might be as excited about it being Friday as I am, where you're literally like drooling on yourself. That's what that stain is. It'll evaporate as we go through the show. But I'm literally just doing a pre-show meeting with Armando Lara, and I just drool on myself. What kind of human being am I? Is that an age thing? Is that just me getting excited because Armando's here? What's going on? That's what that is. That's literally me. I just drooled on myself. I'm not proud of it. I'm a human being. Armando, how are you doing, brother? Happy Friday.
I'm good, man. I don't think anybody would have noticed it if you didn't point it out. It just looks like a shadow.
It's so ridiculous that I don't even care, man. I have no shame on that front. But again, it's going to evaporate at a certain point. Anyways, Armando, there's a lot to talk about. We're officially at the All-Star break. I do not care for even an iota about the festivities themselves. It's all a show that means nothing. I don't even care about. I don't care about any of it, dude. Like the slam dunk contest is kind of like meh to me at this point. I don't even know who's in the 3-point contest. I've been loving the ABA show. There's a new show, and this was spearheaded by George Karl, who played in the ABA. Rick Barry played in the ABA, and it's on Prime. It's a kind of like a limited series documentary, a documentary that's split up into different episodes. And I've been having fun watching that. Besides the fact that you learn a lot more about Rick and just how much of an influence he's had on the modern NBA based off his actions in the late 60s, early 70s when he left the Warriors to play in the ABA for the Oakland Oaks. And he's shared all those stories on the show. He's shared them with me. But when you see it in a documentary format, it just resonates easier. And I'm learning some interesting things. Case in point that a lot of the aspects of the NBA that we love today, and I brought up the 3-point contest, the slam dunk contest, originated with the ABA. So the ABA brought a lot of cool shit. It brought a fresh style. It kind of shook up the stagnation of a National Basketball Association that was a distant third in the minds of the American public behind football and baseball. And thanks to the ABA, now we have a 3-point line. Now we have a slam dunk contest. Now we have some style added to the mix. And with that said, I don't give a shit about any of it, but I know a lot of people do. We'll find out if Armando Lara cares. It's Happy Hour Friday. Are the Warriors? Should the Warriors rebuild? Should they march for the best playoff positioning possible? We're talking about that, all of that, and so much more. Armando, you ready to go?
Let's do it.
Beautiful. He hosts a show called Sprewell Was Right. Where are your subs right now, real quick?
We're at 58 because we let Frank in. We let the great Frank. Frank had such a great call on here last week. What did he say? He was 67, 63.
65, yeah.
Yeah, he applied.
Mean.
We thought about it. Man, those comments were really, really good. So we let him subscribe. So we're up to 60 or 58. We have 58 subscribers, and now including Frank.
You're full of shit. Go subscribe to Sprewell Was Right. Follow that man on socials, on Threads at Mando_man10, on Twitter at Armando Lara, M as in Mary. And we're going to talk Warriors. We're talking NBA. The program is called The Golden Days. We are powered by FanDuel.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Again, happy Friday, everybody. The name of the show is called The Golden Days. We're coming to you live from the Golden Days studios in West Sonoma County, California, and an extension of that in Berkeley. Are you in Berkeley technically? Where are you right now?
Oakland.
In Oaktown. All right. Speaking of the the Oakland Oaks, former ABA team. Armando Lara joins us from Oakland, California, former home of the Golden State Warriors. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Threads and Instagram, at Dog Wild, over on Twitter at Surf Journalist. The program on both platforms at Golden Days Pod. Real quick, while I have Oakland on my mind, or Armando, a quick thought, and I don't know if you like this thought or you don't, but a trend I've been noticing in terms of every NBA team's G League affiliate. This has been a nice development over the years with the NBA, where they now have an actual minor league system, and the semblance is strong of a real minor league system. Only it's not like a multiple tiers. It's just one team. And so, but what the trend I'm noticing is a lot of these G League teams, some of them have already been in bigger markets, but a lot of them have moved from the early days of the G League, where you saw a lot of these teams in very quaint settings, like very small towns, and they're migrating to bigger markets. And I go back like the Spurs, for example, their G League team is in Austin. The Lakers, for example, their G League team, or I'm sorry, the Clippers, I'm sorry, their G League team is now in San Diego. They're literally called the San Diego Clippers, the name of their actual franchise before they moved to Los Angeles. So, the Kings Stockton is a surprisingly large market. I know it's not big enough for, a major professional franchise at the top level, but for a G League franchise, it's great. I bring all this up because when it comes to the Warriors, their G League team since I believe the inception of the G League has been in Santa Cruz. They're called the Santa Cruz Warriors. And I know the folks in Santa Cruz are probably not going to like hearing me say this, but Armando, to you, do you think it would make more sense for the G League Warriors to move to Oakland and become
100%? I mean, it ain't that complicated. It's just higher population density is where the team should be. I mean, if they're trying to make money.
Yeah. I mean, Santa Cruz is a small town, and again, the community there loves their Santa Cruz Warriors, but it got me thinking. I'm like, the actual Golden State Warriors moved their franchise from Oakland to San Francisco. Why not give a little back and move the franchise there? As long as Oracle Arena is going to sit there, why not fill it up? And not to mention, you probably have a ton of fans going to those games.
I mean, the Santa Cruz Arena that they play in is, I don't know if you've been there, but it's literally like a high school gym. It looks like a little like a little structure you construct like if like a tornado blows through your southern town or like a hurricane, and then you set up a refugee camp. It looks like a temporary structure. That's what it is.
It does.
So they could do that in Oakland. Why not?
The outside just looks like a farm shed, essentially, just a bigger version. The interior looks like a Division III college basketball program gym.
Sorry, me and the cousins went down to go see Kuminga play his rookie year. So it was Kuminga, Moody. They played against Scoot and Dyson Daniels and one other guy who's on Kuminga's teammate now on Atlanta. And it's pretty funny. We actually have a picture of me or my little nephew with Kuminga because I was like too nervous to actually be in a photo like a little kid, a grown ass man asking to be in a photo with with a player. It's like, nah, but I actually really did want to be in the photo.
Of
and
course.
I just made my nephew's like, what? Why? Wait, I don't want to. Who is this? But literally, like Kuminga, like they're just like walking out like it's after a high school basketball game, and he was so gracious and nice. And then I actually had a Kuminga rookie card, and like I gave it to my nephew to get him to sign it, and then Kuminga signed it, but he didn't take it out of the sheath that it was in. So I have a signed like plastic sheath of Jonathan Kuminga's, but not the card. The card is not signed itself.
Might actually boost the value of the card since it's not written over, but I could be wrong on that too. That's a funny story. And you have folks like Xavier Hill in our chat. Where did that comment go? I forgot to highlight it. Here it is. No, not that one. Xavier Hill was in our chat basically saying that if the team moved from Santa Cruz to, here it is, from Santa Cruz to Oakland, that would be disrespectful to Oakland. And this person likes Santa Cruz. Your thoughts?
I could see that. Well, whatever, man. It's all about money.
Well, and it's like, what are the options? Like Trace McKindle in the chat said that City has the Oakland Ballers, and I know they got the roots to the soccer team. I don't know anything about the Ballers. Is that a real team?
Yeah.
What are they playing in? What league are they playing in? The Oakland Ballers. Like, who's?
Hey, man, it's just an excuse to drink beer. It ain't that complicated. It's just a big bar. Like it's not like I wouldn't think about it like it's some kind of big, symbolic act.
Right. It's not a demotion. It's not a demotion. Oh, minor league baseball. I'm sorry. I was thinking so they got a minor league baseball team there. Thank you, Tracy. They have the Oakland Roots, who E40 is now a part owner in. And so why not make it the Oakland Warriors? I don't know. Just
You
an
know,
idea.
let me take a minute here. And actually, I really feel the city of Oakland, you know, losing the Warriors wasn't that big a deal. It's all good. You know, the Raiders, it's all good. It's just 7 games a year, or 8. I don't know what it is, 8. And
Like 10 with preseason and all that shit. Yeah.
yeah, football's a trash sport, anyways. But losing the Athletics, I think, really hurt the city.
Yes, agreed.
And as a resident and as a homeowner in Oakland, like, you know, that I was really a supporter of the city's effort. And, you know, anytime you talk to an older person, like, about how that went down, they think they know what's up, you know, like older boomer types that kind of just watch the news. They'll be like, oh, the city of Oakland, like, they put too many taxes on the Athletics. And that's why, you know, there was too much like
red tape. They had to get through.
You know, like red tape and you know, rent control housing. That's why they wouldn't do it, and they left. Such a crock of shit. Oakland, the city of Oakland basically gave them tax-free infrastructure, and they exempted them from certain property taxes, and they actually gave them 3,000 rental units. It was a complete real estate deal. It was basically a real estate deal attached, or a ballpark attached to what was a real estate deal. And if you look at where they were going to build it, it was right on the Alameda estuary, and just absolutely gorgeous. And honestly, back in 2001, when they built the San Francisco Giants Stadium down on the waterfront, that's what began to turn that city around. That was like right before the .com boom in the early 2000s, and that's when that city really blew up. And that was going to be good for Oakland. What happened is that the interest rates rose, and that owner, Fisher, has all his money tied up in real estate deals, and he couldn't come up with like $30-50 million to finish the deal, which is what they needed from him. And that's when he got you know, cooked on this Vegas thing. And you know, it's a lot more. It's never like just what is presented in the media. Like, just like the Slater article, like, what's out in the media is a carefully packaged set of facts. And you know, I just like always setting the record straight on the Oakland Athletics thing. Like, that's a real loss for the city.
Huge, 100% agreed. I grew up how did you grow up? Because I didn't really pick a team until I was in my teenage years, because, you know, growing up as a kid in the Bay Area is 1 year is the A's, 1 year is the Giants. I personally could not fixate on a specific team to root for until about the mid 90s. And then by that point, I was like, you know what, dude, I spent way more of my childhood years in the East Bay. And then Pac Bell sealed it. It left zero doubt at that point in my mind which team is mine. But at the same time, baseball it's whatever. It's a distant third in my interest of the 3 major sports. But I'm with you, man. Like, and when I look at the blame game for the city losing Oakland, I don't look at bureaucracy and, you know, over-regulation, which is what that piece of shit John Fisher would cite for excuses. I look at Al Davis and what he did to that once great stadium, the Oakland Alameda Coliseum, where once upon a time the bleachers had a view of the Oakland Hills, and it was a real ballpark. That massive amount of foul territory that actually worked out because the home team got used to catching a lot of pop-ups, and it was a decent ballpark, man. Connected directly to BART. It was really easy to get to. And then Al Davis gets greedy, and, you know, once that Mount Davis erected, that ruined the baseball feel of the Coliseum. And then he still bounces like 20 years later. And then so I blame him and his family for a huge part of that. And then the rest of the blame, in my opinion, and look, this doesn't save the A's from Oakland, but at least it keeps them in the Bay Area, and that's the San Francisco Giants, who just in a purely greedy fashion happily accept the handout from the Oakland A's in the early 90s to stay in San Francisco. And what I mean by that is the Oakland A's used to own the territorial rights of San Jose, which, as we all know now, has immense value because of Silicon Valley and all the tech dollars there. But the A's used to own those rights the San Francisco Giants are about to move to St. Petersburg, Florida. True story. The dome, that crappy dome that the Tampa Rays play in, that was originally going to be built for the San Francisco Giants. They're going to be called the St. Petersburg Giants, like a 23rd hour intervention led by former Safeway owner Peter McGowan came in. But really, it ultimately came down in order to convince his investors to go all in on this buy and keep the Giants in the Bay Area. They needed that handout from the Oakland A's to give the territorial rights of San Ho to the San Francisco Giants. And what I don't think the A's expected was the Giants to take that handout and selfishly not give it back when the favor was expected to be returned. The Giants were like, hell no. Thank you for the gift. We're going to keep it. And again, it's just greedy, thoughtless, self-serving. So congrats to the Giants for playing a huge part in the A's no longer even being in the San Francisco Bay Area. But yeah.
I mean, one thing I'll add is that, people talk about like, oh, Oakland's so poor, like, it's not a good idea to have a ballpark there, but that's wrong. Like, if they had built a really nice stadium that was right-sized on the waterfront, like, there's hella rich people in Oakland, like a lot of rich people. And
the whole
there's
Bay.
A lot of rich people in Walnut Creek. And there's a lot of rich people in Marin County. And there's a lot
FanDuel and Blackhawk and all those places. Yeah.
A lot of sleeping Oakland A's fans that are just kind of Giants fans now. And if the A's had actually given them an excuse to get off the 880, to get off and go down there, like those are kind of people that would never go to Oakland on their own accord, right? Like they would just go to the city. And for them to go to Oakland, spend money there, like that was going to be a real thing. There's a lot of wealth in the Bay Area. And to me, I don't really understand the economic models that said Vegas was a better idea. That's why it had to be some shady backroom loan type stuff, like loan shark stuff. That's the way I read it. I'm going to be really fascinated to see that story in 50 years when it actually comes out.
Right. Hopefully it's not 50. Jesus, like we won't even be alive at that point probably. But you're absolutely right. And anyways, but we digress. This is a Warriors show. We'll now veer the ship back in the Warriors direction. I want to start by going back to giving our sponsor FanDuel love real fast. And they sent me this graphic. Hope you folks on YouTube can see it. I'll certainly try and articulate it clearly for the podcast audience. These are your current FanDuel odds for who's going to be the 2025-26 NBA Western Conference winner. And the OKC Thunder keep seeing their odds drop largely because of this Shai Gilgeous-Alexander injury coupled with the San Antonio Spurs surging. You also have the Denver Nuggets who are going to be a real threat. I don't know if they've gotten their mojo fully back yet. They're still waiting on Aaron Gordon to come back from a hamstring injury that's kept him out for an extended period of time. But you look at the odds right now, OKC minus 135 to win the West, Denver plus 300, San Antonio plus 700. And you may or may not be shocked to see this, but the Warriors have actual odds to win the West. And even crazier is the Kristaps Porzingis trade, a.k.a. Tingus Pingus. That trade incredibly boosted the Warriors' odds of winning the West from plus 10,000. They were dead last in this graphic before the Kristaps Porzingis signing. And now they went from plus 10,000 to plus 8,000 to win the West. They have equal odds with the Phoenix Suns. And again, when you have Stephen Curry, the bookmakers will always think you're in contention. I was a little surprised to see Kristaps Porzingis affect public opinion as much as he did, the addition of him. And that's almost entirely what sets these lines is public perception. So there you go, plus 8,000 if you want to put your money down. Phenomenal odds, 80-1 for your Warriors to make the NBA Finals. I personally would not advise betting on that, but if you have money to throw around and you actually believe, if you have some irrational confidence in your Golden State Warriors, put your money where your mouth is, plus 8,000. And that leads to the Kristaps Porzingis trade itself, because Armando, well, I think we talked about this last week. That's why I forgot. You had the infamous, I still laugh just thinking about this, stone face reaction to the Tingus Pingus You did not find that funny, and that alone makes me laugh even more. But all kidding aside, here we are a week later. We're going to talk in just a second about whether or not the team should be tanking, what their ultimate objectives are. What do you want to start with, though? Because we're going to talk about the Anthony Slater story as well. But was it the Porzingis trade you wanted to touch on? I honestly forgot what you wanted to start with.
I know people think I just hate like out of fucking nowhere and make shit up, but I think you know me well enough, Cy. Like I've been saying every week here, I always try to think, what is the reason the people I disagree with rationally are doing what they're doing? Like, I don't think people are crazy. I don't think people are just completely incompetent. I think people always have a logic and a rationality to them. And so I always try to think backwards. Okay, given what the Warriors did, what is it that they think they're doing right? And I think it's reasonable. And I just want to lay that out for a minute here. Like, I think what Dunleavy and Kerr and Steph, who are all on the same page, and that's what's come out on this, have done is that, it's about how can we give Steph a chance to play quote unquote meaningful basketball right now without compromising the future. And that meaningful basketball is not something I'm making up. That's what Steph said. And what they mean by that is just give him a shot to play some playoff basketball and give hope for him so that he can play hard and he can do the thing where he's just thinking about the next play and not having to think about the bigger picture. That's the Steph, to be at an elite level, he has to have like a irrational confidence about it. And they're thinking, okay, we got this Porzingis guy in, and yes, we know he has injury issues, but that doesn't matter because if indeed he's able to play, on paper, it's a great fit. This is a 3-point shooter, 7'4" or whatever. He can spread the floor for Draymond, and Draymond can support him on defense. And that will open up things for us. And, we were trending upwards this year. We won a lot of games before Jimmy Butler went down. So maybe we can kind of capture lightning in a bottle. And the whole goal is to kind of be like the Dallas Mavericks a few years ago. Like, hopefully there's some injuries, Shai Gilgeous will get hurt or Jokic will get hurt. And we just need like a 10% chance to play meaningful ball. And we need to keep the hope alive so that our fans can continue to be paying, $5,000 for a ticket, whatever, keep people tuning in. And I think, and then Porzingis is a free agent. So say it doesn't go well and he's just injured, and say we go out in the play-in, because we're not that good, then we could just kind of like we did with the Chris Paul contract, we can attempt to re-sign and repackage him with our draft picks that we still have. And you heard Dunleavy say that. He reiterated, we did not send out any of our picks. So if, Giannis becomes available, we can up that over the season. And then next year, perhaps we could have Steph Curry, who we think is still a top 10 player in this league, and we can win a championship with as a number one option. We still believe, and here I'm saying the Warriors, this is not Armando saying this, that Steph is still a top 10 player and can go 4 rounds in the playoffs as the number one option with Draymond and Giannis. And that's what we're trying to hope for. And we'll be getting Jimmy Butler back. Yeah. We'll be getting Jimmy Butler back. And so
that's a weird rhetoric, dude.
And Jimmy Butler's going to play. So that, to me, that's their logic side. Like, I mean, it all sounds reasonable when you lay it out that way, right? You can see why you would talk yourself into it. Yeah.
I guess.
Let me just prep it. Let me just hint that I think that's a crock of fucking shit.
I get what you're saying. That's what they're trying to sell. It's just that I ain't buying that shit, man. Like that's a weak ass sell in my book. But you do, again, you have this massive section of the fan base that are very casual observers who don't pay attention to the nuance, which is for the millionth time why I will say to the very end, this is easily the highest IQ audience, because we're not sitting here shaking pom-poms, being cheerleaders for the team. We're just sticking to the facts, man. We're trying to just be objective in terms of analysis and what's really going on. And a lot of it just is not pretty. A lot of it is not necessarily positive or is conducive to success. And case in point, trading for Kristaps Porzingis with this desperate hope that he's going to be active and available for you. Armando, like when we talked about Pingus last week, what? No, that was not the episode. I don't think. Like, you weren't part of the episode where the same guy that you gave respect to, Frank B, were you part of that episode where he was explaining just how bad POTS is?
No, but I heard that. That's why we allowed him on the Sprewell Was Right YouTube channel, because of those comments, man. That was so insightful. He was talking about,
insightful.
Dude, he was like, dude, my freaking neighbor has that, man.
Trachycardia. Right?
Yeah.
Is that how you say it? Let me look it up again. I'm starting to become more familiar with the nomenclature here. Postural orthostatic trachycardia syndrome. Like, I didn't like originally, because remember Porzingis last year with the Celtics, he was missing all this time. No one knew what was going on, largely because the Celtics are so good at preventing leaks from getting out of that building. But everyone thought it was viral. And then we find out, we learned this last offseason is POTS, trachycardia, which affects your heart. And when you do your research on it, like there's no cure for it. There's no remedy. It's the treatment plan from doctors is rest, hydration. In what world is that a formula for an NBA player to stay on the court? It's wild, man. And the Hawks made the trade for him. I don't think they gave up much, and they realized quickly, all right, this guy's not going to do shit for us. And so what I'm trying to say is what the Warriors are selling. Again, it probably will fly with the casual fan who is not aware of just how severe POTS is, who's not aware that 1 minute Porzingis is on the injury report because of illness, the next minute he's on the injury report because of a left Achilles injury management. If we see this guy 10 games, I'll be amazed. And I could be wrong on this, right? I mean, I'm not a doctor. I'm not. This is not like some prediction. It's not a hill I'm going to die on that Porzingis won't play. But I also think it's a crazy sell job to try and convince people that he's actually going to be active and a serious contributor on this team. Never mind the actual idea of him playing on the court. This Warriors team moves fast. They hustle. The NBA game in general is far more fast-paced than it was even just a year ago. I can't see in my mind, and I need to see it on the court, and I'm riveted and fascinated, but I cannot picture in my mind Porzingis being a part of this team running back and forth, being three-point chuckers and then hustling for transition defense. Like the idea of him sprinting back and forth on a basketball court is a hard thing to accept as reality, and I'm going to need to see it before I believe it. What are your thoughts on that? Because I know you sold the idea of what the Warriors are selling clearly. I get that, but in terms of the reality of this, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so there's two places I want to start. If scenario A, Porzingis is healthy, which you laid out very nicely, it's a great prediction. He won't even play 10 games. I wouldn't be surprised either, but I think that fits their narrative because they could just pivot in the summer. That's what they think. They're so smart. They think they're light years for doing that.
And by the way, can you read that, Armando? What Tracy just wrote? It's out there, but it's kind of funny.
So go home in a body bag program, just like Tracy said. 4.0. We're right on track. It's there's not really anything there's literally nothing surprising about what's happened this year.
Tracy McKindle, by the way, for the podcast audience, writing if Tingus Pingus drops dead on the court, that would be in all caps really weird, uncapped karma for Steve Kerr. Sorry, Armando, continue.
I'll tell you this much: they better not play him with Pods because Pods is going to get him hurt. It's going to, that Pods is the number one injury risk to other people because he's just straight not an NBA athlete. You know, it's very dangerous when he's on the court. But anyways, so Porzingis, here's the thing. So even if he's healthy, guys, it forces them to play slow. And the whole reason that they play their 3 guards is to play fast, quote unquote.
Right.
And they're actually, it doesn't work. You know, it doesn't work. They think it creates energy for the ball and it leads to more 3-point shooting. That's the whole premise for Steve Kerr. And when they're going to have Porzingis out there, it's going to force them to play half-court ball. He cannot move anymore. He can't move.
Exactly.
And it's going to be him running to the top of the 3-point line and then back on defense. Like, it isn't what you think it is. And, you know, Cy, he has never been a guy that's smart enough to play correct pick and roll defense as the center. Like, he kind of gets exposed. Either he'll overcommit too high or he'll drop too low. Like, he doesn't have that nuance in his bag as a defender. You know what I mean? Like, where you kind of need to be guarding 2 guys at the same time as the center. And athletes attack him. They just attack him. And, you know, another thing about him is he misses big shots. You know how Pods is averaging 40% 3-point shooting and Buddy had a quote unquote good 3-point shot? He, you know, you notice how they miss wide open 3-pointers that get created for them in the flow of the offense. That's the thing that always alarms me, is like Pods gets a wide open shot that's created for him by Steph or Jimmy Butler, brick. But he'll make the one that's a step back 3 against the shot clock. Buddy Hield will make the off the screen fadeaway 3, but he'll brick the wide open corner 3 that's created in the offense. That's not spreading the floor. Porzingis, that is Porzingis. That has been his history. That's why they shipped his ass out of Dallas. Literally, a Western Conference contender shipped him out in his prime. And I just think, Cy, what's going to happen is Steph Curry, he is going to come back. I think they're building up his strength, just like they did for Al Horford. They're building up his ass, you know, pretty much to take pressure off that knee. And they're going to go for it. And the leak that I think Kawakami, or was it Slater, said, like, they know they're going to have to go all out playoff mode the last 2 months here. And that didn't work out for them last year. They ended up getting hurt a result. So they're going to try not to go that hard. They know they're going to be, they're in the play-in. They could literally lose all games just because all the teams below them are tanking, Cy. Like, they're the worst team that's actually trying. And they're not going to catch up ahead of them because the schedule's too hard, as I pointed out in the summer. So that playing game, if they play 1 or 2 games, you know, playing games are game 7 all out playoff mode. And, you know, they're either just going to lose that, or if they win, it's going to be like injury red zone, like fatigue level DEFCON 1. So like any minutes they get in round 1, injury risk, Melton, Porzingis, Horford, Steph, Draymond, like, there's no way they're walking out of that into the summer scot-free. You know what I'm saying? Like, injury ball is still in full effect. So that, you know, that's the shaky premise of it all. That we're just going to give it a shot. We're just going to play Kerr, Steph vibe ball. It's just the vibes era. We're going to play meaningful basketball and give some people in the chat hope to keep tuning in, just to like keep it up. Like, we're not retooling. We're just going to pivot in the summer. Jimmy's coming back. They're literally selling you an ideology that it's just good vibes. We're just going to honor the past. We're going to give you memories of winning. We're going to give you hope without properly tuning to the rebuild.
Armando, do you watch the show South Park at all?
Yeah.
Do you remember the episodes? And I think it was like a theme for one of the seasons where member berries were something people were eating? Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember.
This was one of the more recent seasons of South Park, where the premise, and it's a silly show, it's a cartoon, but they astutely nail how the world's really going, functioning in the time they released these episodes. And this was back, I think, in 2020 when they released this episode about how people love eating what's called member berries, and these are just like little blueberries that talk, and but all they say is nostalgia, right? They go, Tatooine. Do you remember Yoda? Do you remember Jabba? like just bringing up all this nostalgic shit that people love to eat up, right? And the premise of the episode was that when all else fails, just feed people nostalgia, and they'll forget about everything else, right? They eat that stuff up, but it also is a massive distraction from what's really going on. And is that a fair way to kind of summarize what you're saying about what the Warriors are doing? They're just milking the nostalgia tree to the tip.
Yeah, and Cy, can I talk a moment about where they really messed up? Like,
please.
And obviously, I've said all this before, but I'll just say it again. It just bears repeating. I really, people, and I've noticed it with people getting to see Porzingis featured and then getting to see Guy Santos featured. I've seen it, like all the praise for Guy Santos, and now people are able to see Pods for what he is, what he's always been, and like people defending Pods. He's not, why are you so hard on him, and then kind of like toning the praise for Guy Santos down, like, oh, he's just a role player. Stop praising him so much. Once teams remember him, he won't be that good. He can only do this if he plays like 15, 20 minutes. I think the number one thing that I've been trying to get across to people is to watch games with a fatigue meter and to understand the combinations that are on the court when you judge a player. Anytime you talk about a player individually, like he's in some kind of basketball vacuum, like he's playing against virtual reality players, and it doesn't matter who else is on the court with him, and it doesn't matter the level of intensity of the competition, like then you're not an actual basketball analyst. Like, you don't really understand how to watch games if you're just talking about an individual player. And the thing is, for 3-4 years, they've been playing 3-4 guards. And that's had an effect on a player like Brandon Porzingis and Guy Santos. I said earlier this year, Guy Santos should be the sixth player off the bench. I said that in November. The chat killed me. They killed me. And they said I was delusional when he was like the 12th man.
Well, they're idiots, for the record.
And literally, Steve Kerr had this guy DMP'd until Terry Stotts played him that game that Steve Kerr got benched. So the idea that somehow Kerr developed him is a complete joke. And
that's the latest rhetoric I'm hearing from the Kerr apologists, is like they're trying to find excuses of where Kerr has developed players. Yeah. It's the latest massive reach. I've been seeing that too. Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No. And so when the thing is, they believed in Pods as a guy, as a dude that gets it in, as a dude that can play defense against athletes.
Still do.
And
yeah.
With the 3 guards, that means he's been getting 30 minutes in 3-guard lineups. That means he is fighting for position minutes at small forward. Okay. People say he's a point guard, a 2-guard. No, he's been playing in 3 guards. That means he's taking up minutes at small forward. Okay. And on any other team in the NBA, any other coach, Guy Santos is a small forward. Okay. But no, he gets spot minutes at the 4. And that means they are literally competing for minutes if you zoom out. And that's the same thing with Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody. Brandon Porzingis steals developmental minutes from those guys that actually could have raised their ceiling.
How much do you like, Armando, that Kerr is hiding the Porzingis usage by not starting him? Like, he doesn't start, but he still leads the team in minutes every game. It's like, again, this goes back to the casuals versus the ardent followers, right? Those who actually either follow closely and or played, and Just the more knowledgeable fan base versus the casual fan base. The casual fan base sees him not starting and they go, "What? I don't get it."
Attacking
and,
the bench
then,
player.
and then the moment you start paying attention to just a little nuance, you look at the minutes and go, "Oh, he's leading the team in minutes and closing games." I'm still mind blown that the Warriors beat Phoenix in Phoenix the other night. Very impressive win. Remember, Porzingis had a case of the shits, so he didn't play much. I think he played like 10 minutes in that game or something like that. He was and huge surprise. They won and they look good. And then the last two games, his usage goes back up, and huge surprise, they lose. It's like it ain't complicated. Like just don't play this guy. But
yeah, I mean the reason they won that Suns game is because the Warriors are now the trap game. That's how bad we are. We're the trap game because at the end of that game, they just literally decided to stop running offense. They just went Dylan the Villain ISO 8 straight times, and they didn't have Devin Booker, and so Moses Moody locked his ass up.
And I'm sorry, by the way, I misspoke. They technically did win the Grizzlies game. And again, you have the Kerr apologists, the casuals going, dude, they won. No, Memphis tanked. Just look at the second 6 minutes of that fourth quarter, or look at the fact that Memphis quarters 1 through 3 were putting up 33, 32, 33 points. Quarter 4, they put up 15. Look at Steve Kerr's comments the next day following practice, telling the media, we got really lucky in that game, and followed by a desperate plea for adjustments. It's in Memphis. Just congrats to Memphis for subtly tanking. They went under the radar.
Yeah, I saw you tweet that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The only games that the Warriors are winning are games against tanking teams or injured teams, and it's really, really sad to hear the GM go out and defend his decision making by saying, since we traded for Jimmy Butler, we have the 4th best record in the league, when literally the only games you've won are against tanking teams or injured teams. There's some disconnect on self-awareness. The Clippers are self-aware. They are rebuilding. They traded away an all-star center to get draft picks. The teams that are self-aware about who they are and where they are in the pecking order do well in the long run. It's delusional. And it's a dereliction of duty. It's a dereliction of duty that Mike Dunleavy said was proud of the fact that they had the 4th best record in the league since they got Jimmy Butler. And here's where I want to connect it to what I was saying. Let me just finish that off. The fact that they were playing Porzingis 30 minutes competing for small forward instead of playing Kuminga, Moody, and Guy Santos together to enhance their wing talents together, okay, like any other coach would have in the league, it led to, when they traded for Dennis Schroeder, they played Dennis Schroeder alongside Brandon Podziemski last year and benched Jonathan Kuminga. That is an effing fact. In that December last year, they lost every single game, because that coach played Dennis Schroeder with Jonathan and Brandon Podziemski together. And they were so bad that they said something's got to be done. And then they panic trade Andrew Wiggins for Jimmy Butler. And I know people love Jimmy, and I know people are all about it, but $56 million for a guy that I know he's good, and I know he's Kuminga's mentor, but a guy that I saw that the reason he was effective was because he was foul grifting. He was getting points by allowing guys purposefully to undercut him. He would love taking that pass, when guys front him, the over-the-top pass, and then pretend like the people are running into his legs and fall down and get fouls. That was his whole thing. Just a total Shai Gilgeous-Alexander foul grift. And if Warriors fans cannot be upfront about that, like you're just a fan. Like you don't look at things objectively.
I mean, the good
And
news is the foul grifting works, and maybe you could argue the Warriors needed a player like that because nobody outside of Jonathan Kuminga before that trade was getting to the line. But I also hear what you're saying, which is that the tactic made him vulnerable to undercuts, to an exorbitant amount of physical contact that could
Sorry.
result in injury. And newsflash, it did result in injury.
Twice. That's what
Yeah.
people don't understand. In the Rockets series,
Yeah.
he allowed someone to undercut him, and he had that massive bone bruise on his ass. And so he was compromised in the Minnesota series. Dude, like people like have goldfish memory. And then he did it again. And now his thing, it was totally predictable. And I literally predicted it on this show. And that was so to me, that's the original sin, aside from when they extended Kerr. That is the point where this was all just where it gave me the confidence to say, the season is going to play out in the go home and a body bag program. There's going to be a fake attempt to try Jonathan Kuminga in the beginning. They're going to win a lot doing that, and then they're going to go away from it, and then they're just going to get injured. Like that's the moment when they traded for Jimmy Butler, and that's how this all went down. That's the real thing that has happened on this team, not the version they're peddling to you. That's the dereliction of duty.
I hear you. And that's been a huge gripe of mine, is that the messaging that comes out from this team is so PR 101, and it doesn't often, most of the time, it does not reflect reality. It just doesn't. And in the years where the team was winning, it just either there was no need for that or no one gave a shit because they were winning. But it's been 4 years of just underachievement and missing out on the playoffs altogether. And then
and it's not just about not playing Kuminga. Okay.
Agreed. Yeah.
I make this up. The coach has literally said, he has literally admitted on multiple occasions that he's just not good at developing guys. He's just not good at figuring out new systems to incorporate new guys. And if he just plays them, and if it doesn't feel right to him, he won't go with it. He has literally said that. You guys think I make stuff up?
No. He has. You're right. Which is in turn why there should be, to a certain extent, an indictment on Joe Lacob for knowing this and doubling down. It's like you knew you had a coach who is not good at evaluating talent. Case in point, his failed stint as GM of the Phoenix Suns. You knew you have a coach who doesn't give a shit about developing talent. Case in point, he literally said it. And yet you decided to double down and try to follow through this 2-timeline plan with Steve Kerr as the coach. And that to me is where Lacob failed. That to me is where there should be an indictment on the front office for thinking that a plan, which on paper I supported, I thought it worked because logically it made perfect sense. The Spurs did it. They were able to extend a dynasty into almost a second decade, or almost into a third decade, I apologize. And that was the model they were following. I understand that. But the Spurs had a head coach who was willing to coach and teach and instill confidence and let young guys actually play. And the Warriors don't have that. And that's where the line is clearly drawn. And he's still there. It's insane.
Greg Popovich said that every summer, him and his staff get together and have a summit. What do you call that when you go away to a retreat? A retreat.
A retreat, yeah.
And where they think, how can we redo our basketball system to make sure we stay on the cutting edge? And they did that twice. They said, we're not going to do David Robinson, Tim Duncan post-ups anymore. We're going to run a Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili pick and roll offense heavy. Then we're not going to do a Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili pick and roll offense heavy. We're going to get Kawhi Leonard into the triple threat position at the wing. And that's going to be our usage. They pivoted twice. And Steve Kerr has admitted to this ownership basically that he's lazy. He's literally said to them, I am not going to do that work. That's not me. I'm not good at it. He's literally said that. And the original sin of Lacob is extending Steve Kerr in Jonathan Kuminga's second year, when Steve Kerr finally had the balls to bench the awful Klay Thompson, bench him, and start Jonathan Kuminga. And they started Jonathan Kuminga alongside Andrew Wiggins and Draymond Green, and they went 8-2. And that after that 8-2, when it was clear he was going to play Jonathan Kuminga, and it was clear he was willing to bench the awful Klay Thompson, he gave him a 2-year extension.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Lacob got duped by a lazy worker. And if he's not willing to own up to him, to that original sin, to that mistake, that's on him. That's on you, Mr. Lacob. That's on you. You're the great businessman. I don't know. I know you got lucky in Silicon Valley and a tech startup, just like all those other guys. Did you also just get lucky here? So you made a business mistake. You got duped by a worker. So
I'm glad
where are you at now?
I'm glad you brought the L word up, luck, in terms of Joe Lacob being a billionaire, because that is an absolute truth, man. And it's why, like, the people who have reverence for billionaires, it's like how simplistic is your thinking, man? Like develop those critical thinking skills. Nearly, I'd say 99% of these billionaires needed luck. Maybe 99.9% of these billionaires, anyone who's really successful in this world, you need luck, because there are plenty of people who put in the work that you think is required, the work ethic, and they have the brains, and they do everything which you think is right on paper to achieve success in this world, and it still doesn't happen. That happens routinely, regularly. It takes luck, whether that luck is timing, knowing the right person saying yes, right? It takes luck, man. I'm 1,000% with you, and it's why just because someone has achieved financial success is in no way a proper indicator representing that this person is like suddenly like this genius or whatever.
You can tell they're very self-aware of this specific issue. So it's not just us making it up. Because remember this year when one of the rich sons went off to go do something else, or he quit basketball, one of the Lacob sons. All the talk was about him proving that he's a self-made man and not a nepo or whatever. Remember? So they're very aware of this idea of luck and who made it. And so I want to put it out to you, Lacob. Write me an email. I want to know what you think about getting duped by Steve Kerr for those 10 games. It might have been 12 games, 10 games in Jonathan Kuminga's second year. Write me an email. I want to know what you think about a worker duping you. Like you got.
I think it says it speaks volumes that in the Slater article, the Anthony Slater article, which we covered in detail last episode, and it's up there on ESPN, chock full of fascinating tidbits. I thought, to me, Joe Lacob not commenting on the story was maybe the loudest attribution of all. Joe Lacob hasn't spoken to the media since last offseason. And even then, the only person I think he spoke to was Kawakami, and that's I don't even think that's a fair calling that an interview isn't fair. It's just another press release essentially. But Lacob's silence for going on nearly a year now is speaking some loud ass volumes, man. Because there's no doubt in my mind he likes Kerr. But what I wonder is, are you keeping this dude around strictly because you developed a friendship with him? Are you keeping him around because you care that much about the financial part of it, and you think he keeps bringing that Silicon Valley money in as a proper representative of your team who does all the PR shit that you ask of him, whether it's conferences, whether it's speaking engagements, interviews? I don't know. I just want to hear it from Joe. I want to know why is there zero accountability on this head coach for 4 years? None. It's just he does what he wants and gets away with it.
Sorry, can I run another theory by you? Oh, sorry, I don't know if the ambulance is going by, but
it's quiet.
I was thinking about it, and we often say, I wanted to ask you, like, okay, Steph is the person protecting Steve, but do you know? I wanted to ask you, do you know the minority owner situation in the Warriors ecosystem?
Not off the top of my head. What I know is what I can tell you to the best of my knowledge is Joe and Peter Guber are each 25% co-owners, right? So they got the 50% share, and so they control the operation. But if Peter Guber ever decides randomly, hey, I want a bigger voice, he can. He just is happy in his role, and Joe Lacob is the governor. But then you have this other 49.9% of ownership that is divvied up. There's just a lot of interest there. And then there's that one dude who recently sold it off, and he was like, just hates Steve Kerr. I don't know if you saw those tweets. This was about a year ago. I forgot the guy's name, but I feel like they're all just techies and financiers.
But so I was wondering, we don't know enough about that 49% because, maybe there's someone with 8% or 10% or 15% in there. I would love to find out because we blame Steph, but I just know from sociology, like studies of elites, like it's possible the coach is like best friends with some of those minority owners.
Maybe.
And it's not, maybe they play golf together or they're like, this, like their elites have shared networks.
You're
it's
right.
not just
That's
contractual agreements. They belong to like country clubs or whatever. Or they marry off daughters to sons. Like that stuff happens. And I've always wondered if we knew more about that. Maybe it's a thing where like, I can't fire Steve Kerr because it will cause me problems with some of these minority owners, like socially, like, maybe they really support him. I have no idea.
People need to know that you're a tenured sociology professor at UC Berkeley, and your focus is global finance. So the money part of it is your particular area of expertise, which is why when we talk about these elites, you have some knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just drawing from facts, but I'm pulling stuff out of my ass. I have no data whatsoever in terms of these about the Warriors.
But I think you have data in terms of the power dynamic of people in control and how they hold on to their power. Oftentimes, it's you're like you said, you befriend someone who is a shot caller and they go to bat for you, and you extend the longevity of your career, even though the results aren't matching that. Real quick, I want to. I don't know if we're gonna have time to get to listeners today, just because Armando, you're on a schedule, and we don't want to bore people either. But a few chat questions, and then if you don't mind, I'd like to get to the mailbag. And what I'm thinking with the mailbag is, I got a bunch of emails, man. This segment's turning into something here, and I love it because it gives people a chance to articulate themselves with extended thoughts. And there's also always one or two people in the chat who think I don't let you speak enough. So what I'm thinking here is, Armando, I'll read the emails and then I'll shut up and you can respond to them with any thoughts you have. And this may also a bleed into the Slater article and your thoughts on that. Really quickly, though, I just want to get to our chat. Tracy McKindle writes, I want to know who Slater's source is. I doubled down on that curiosity, more specifically in terms of who the coaches are that leaked in the story that they wanted Franz Wagner, because it's always anonymous in terms of that source, but yet we get a name in terms of a coach who liked Kuminga, and that was Kenny Atkinson. Like, we didn't know that until the story. That was a very surprising aspect in terms of a revelation that because in 2021 during the draft, Kenny Atkinson apparently liked the Kuminga draft. We all know Draymond Green pushed for it because Jared Jack, their former teammate, played with Kuminga his final year at G League Ignite. We know Joe Lacob liked the pick. We know Bob Myers liked the pick. Steve Kerr was away in Tokyo for the Summer Olympics, so he wasn't around during that draft. But and the story said he had they couldn't really nail down his exact thoughts, but they said the coaching staff or members of the coaching staff wanted Franz Wagner. Who are we talking about here? The lack of specificity in that is eyebrow raising, because it could very easily mean Kerr himself. It could very easily mean Bruce Frazier. Something tells me Mike Brown was not pushing for that. I could be wrong, but I do know Mike Brown and Kuminga had a very strong relationship, which is why I'm skeptical that he's one of the coaches. It's like, who else was there? Was Chris DeMarco pushing for Franz Wagner? I thought Chris DeMarco liked Kuminga. I don't know who these coaches are, and I am curious with you, Tracy, in regards to these sources for the story, given in certain cases there's a name attached directly to it. Kenny Atkinson was one of the assistant coaches on that team, and he liked the Kuminga pick. But there were anonymous coaches who wanted Franz Wagner. We still also don't know if Wagner would even play. His career 3-point percentage is 32. He's had durability issues. A lot of what ifs. Who knows how that turns out if he signs with the team. But Riz wants to know our prediction on how many games the Warriors are winning after the break. There's 27 remaining on the schedule. We can get to that if there's time remaining. I'll leave that up. But this one's for you, Armando, because Barber in our chat also had a dig, even besides this quote, saying he wrote in the chat, there are too many sociologists in the world. Strongly agree to disagree. There are not as many as you may think. And shame on you, Barber, for not appreciating critical thinking and doing actual research to figure out how the world works. I don't know why you would think there are too many sociologists. Like, what's why? Like, why are there too many of them? What damage are they causing that the folks who actually have power in this world are not? But Barber writes, he's dying to know whether you think that the Warriors should trade Stephen Curry and to a lesser extent Draymond Green this upcoming summer. I'm of the very strong belief that if Steph's a lifer, I would love that. I don't want to ever see Stephen Curry wearing another uniform. I also think he's a grown-ass man, and you don't have to treat him like he's a porcelain doll with coaches and with players surrounding him. He'll be fine if this team moves on from Steve Kerr and he stays. That seems to be like this massive worry that, oh no, if Steve Kerr leaves, what is Steph going to do? The horror. He'll wake up like it's another day. He'll go play basketball like he always does. It is not this awful situation. He's a grown-ass individual pushing 40 years of age. He's going to be okay if his coach leaves. With that said, Armando, what are your thoughts on Steph and his future with the Warriors?
I don't know why I got to repeat this stuff. I mean, I've laid out my rebuilding plan all year. I said in late November that they need to fire Steve Kerr right now and pivot to a rebuild. and I laid it out. I've been laying it out every week, so I'm not really sure what the confusion is. The plan that I would do if I was in charge, and I think first thing I'll say is there's multiple paths to a rebuild. It's not all done the same way. And I personally, before the trade deadline, I would have moved Draymond Green. And it's not because he's not good anymore. And I've been seeing a lot of tweets about Draymond's trash and all this stuff, and he's got to be benched. And now Tim Kawakami's on that. He's not as important to the Warriors, quote unquote. The thing is, Draymond quit on this team in November when they benched Jonathan Kuminga, and it was clear the coach was not going to integrate him. He knew they had no hope, so they're just going through the motions. In my opinion, Draymond still has it. It's just he's not trying hard with this loser situation. They're already done. That was the end of that quote. He said, I noticed he said, "We will be done if we do that." They're already done. The narrative hasn't caught up to reality. So I would have traded Draymond because he still has value. He's still a winner. He can actually help a winning team. The hope I would do would be to get a first-round draft pick for Draymond and dead salary, so like no salary back, and then I wouldn't trade him until I could get his trade value up again to try to get a pick from someone. That would be my goal. In terms of Steph, I would not trade Steph, but for reasons that I think may be different than people think. It's not because I'm not trying to rebuild. The goal would be to rebuild. But the reason I wouldn't trade Steph is you're not going to get that good of a return for him. I don't think they don't really realize unless you get really lucky with a situation, but a team that would want Steph needs to be in a competitive position, right? They need to be playing winning basketball. And if you play winning basketball, that means you're going to have to give up $70 million worth of players to get Steph. That's going to be a hard sell to have that kind of empty salary. Like, you'll be taking back bad salary as a result, like bad contracts, long-term contracts. And I don't know if that's the best thing. And that's the reason, number one, I would not trade him. The second reason would be that you need to sell tickets.
Yeah.
And the moment Steph announces this is either his last year in the league or his last year with the Warriors, the retirement tour, and I've been saying this for a year and a half on your show, or however long I've been on. The moment they do that, it doesn't matter if they lose every single game. They could literally charge the highest price tickets they ever could for every single game if Steph announces that. I would force him to play out his contract, and if he demands a trade, then you trade him. But just force it. I do think the one team that could possibly get it done would be the San Antonio Spurs, that have the assets. I don't know if they have $70 million of empty salary to get it done.
So you don't think Charlotte would be the ideal target? That's what I keep looking at, is the Hornets. They have young assets that you could make the salaries work with one or two pieces. Like, I don't know if Charlotte's given up Con Knippel, but if Charlotte's given up Con Knippel and Brandon Miller and a first,
but why
can be negotiable? I would think about that.
But why would the Charlotte do that? That's what I'm trying to say. Like,
because he's a hometown boy. He's a hometown.
So then, if you're doing just a retirement tour in Charlotte, then just do the retirement tour here. So like, it has to be the perfect situation. I think the Spurs might be the only one I could see. I don't really see another option. Maybe there's a player like on the Knicks that will become expiring at like a big salary will become expiring. Like, how much does that guy they traded 5 picks for the
Mikal Bridges?
Yeah, like how much does he make? Like, there might be some
about 30. He makes about 30. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get to 70. So
which is why I look again at the Hornets, because you could go LaMelo Ball, who's got a big ass contract, Con Knippel, Brandon Miller. I think you could just do that straight up. And
I personally wouldn't.
Okay,
that's just me.
You wouldn't as a on the Warriors side or Charlotte side?
Both. I wouldn't both.
Interesting.
As a I get what you're saying, but as a Warriors, the way to win in the modern NBA is through the draft, and you need to obtain.
But these are young guys.
Those guys are not like next level. Like, you need to get shots at blue chip prospects. So I would do a full rebuild and do what the Nets have done, which is take bad salary and get draft picks with it. That's what you got to do. You got to have the cap space to do that.
Yeah. And people in the chat are saying the Warriors would never give up Knippel. And it's like, okay, or the Hornets would never give up Knippel. And it's like, all right, I guess the Warriors, if I'm the Warriors GM and that's what Charlotte's telling me, then I guess we're not having a trade. Because if you want Steph, if you're trying to convince me to give up the most successful athlete, arguably in Bay Area history, you better include Con Knippel in there, in addition to LaMelo and Brandon Miller. And again, if you do that, all right, I'm listening. That's a hell of a package. Armando, that doesn't sell you, even though those are all very young pieces? Because it's not kind of the same premise as a draft. I mean, the goal is to get young players that you develop, right? And you build a culture with them and stuff. Like, you don't think Charlotte, those three?
You could talk me into it, because maybe you could move LaMelo elsewhere when you're ready.
So LaMelo's the one that does it. Okay, yeah, you could, and you could. Yeah, you're right. You could find a third team and send LaMelo there to make the salaries work. But yeah, if Charlotte's not mentioning Con Knippel, I'm hanging up the phone. And
why would they do that? Just to have a losing team with Steph? Like, they're not going to win the title, so why would they do that? I don't get it.
I don't know. I don't care. I don't care. My mind is not going to what Charlotte wants or needs. I'm thinking about the Warriors. And you're right. Maybe they don't want that anymore, which would be kind of crazy to me. But
that's 39 years old.
Yeah. He's getting up there. Let's go through some emails real quick, just because there's so many good ones that come in. And Armando, I'd love to get your thoughts. I think this is your first time joining our email section.
Letters. We get letters. We get stacks and stacks of letters.
And that's becoming a real thing. We are getting stacks of these things, figuratively speaking. These are all emails. But we'll start with let me see which one's the first. Well, this one's a really quick one. I'll get through this. Kian Kleber writes, "Hi, Cy. I caught your post to Threads today about Stephen Curry defending Jonathan Kuminga pretty early. It's crazy how many people immediately crawl out of the woodwork to shut down any critique of Steve Kerr. You would think these people have some investment in ensuring Kerr keeps his job. These throwaway accounts with no profile pictures would rather insinuate that Curry is disingenuous rather than admit Kerr has made mistakes evaluating talent. Side note, how much food would Kuminga have had to swipe for the Warriors front office to be justified with their response? Thanks, Keen. I said Keen. It's Keen. Keen Kleber. Thank you very much for the email. And in case folks are wondering what that email was about on Threads, I made a post yesterday showing a screen capture of Stephen Curry defending Kuminga in the replies of an Instagram post by Bleacher Report, which kind of was making fun of that whole story of the Warriors making a big deal about folks in Kuminga's camp taking food from the family section. And maybe the most interesting part and the pathetically sad part is Bleacher Report deleted the post because it made Steve Kerr look bad. Armando, any thoughts on that? Yeah.
Wow. My thought is that I figured like people don't read nowadays, so they didn't read. A lot of people didn't read the whole article. That's why I really love the way you basically read 90% of it yesterday or whatever. And
it was about that, yeah. I just kind of skimmed the end, yeah.
And the food thing is just a representation of the more insane things that were said in that article that were leaked from Steve Kerr. Everybody's wondering who the leak was. It was literally just Steve Kerr. Like, it's pretty obvious if I read it. And
Slater admitted that today, by the way. That he confirmed
really?
That. Yeah.
Wow. I'll have to look that up. But
he was on ESPN, or he was on Brian Windhorst's podcast, and they televised some of those episodes. And it happened to be on my TV, and I was like, "Oh, Slater's on with Wendy. Let's hear what he has to say." And they were talking about the story, and Slater admitted in the podcast, "Yeah, my source was Kerr, and he opened up about everything." That's what he said.
Yeah, no, I heard that too. You're right. He did say that. And the thing is, the food thing is not even didn't even make the top 10 for me of things that were so offensive that Steve Kerr leaked to Slater. It was so bad.
Amazing. Yeah.
I mean, you pointed it out, but the whole thing about him leaking that he sent all these love poems, on text message and try to really connect with him. And he is a, what was it? A superstar master at connecting with people.
He called them the subjective verbiage. And again, I cannot believe ESPN, their editor, just let this fly. Slater wrote that Steve Kerr's superpower, literally called it a superpower. Like human beings suddenly are Marvel characters in this world now. He said Steve Kerr has the superpower to reach his players on a deeper level. And what I challenge Slater on is find one player not named Stephen Curry who would actually validate that weird opinion. Never mind the fact that a superpower is not a real thing.
Yeah. So I'm going to have to go pretty soon, but
we'll wrap it up. Yeah.
Just the idea that what you should have been doing was your job, which is develop an offense and defense that can incorporate the next level talent in a way that magnifies him and invests in him. And in reality, what was going on was getting benched and Kuminga being on record saying he has no idea why and not understand, literally the coach not talking to him for months and months and months. He said in December that he had not talked to Steve Kerr for months, they had not communicated. And then I did appreciate every time it came out that Jonathan Kuminga was quiet quitting, in December or whatever, November after the Spurs or whatever. I think it was vindicating of what I was saying, Cy. At that time, I was on your show saying that it's most likely that Jonathan Kuminga is not wanting to play into Steve Kerr's language. He's faking injuries in order to not just it literally said it felt almost like they copied my line from your show. I was probably Aaron Turner that was saying it, but it was like it was literally, I'm over here rotting in cryogenesis on the bench, and then you're just gonna activate me. And I'm not, there's no system for me. That you don't run any plays for me. Your coaches are literally saying when I'm in the game, get the ball to Pat Spencer. That was in the article. And
dude, setting him up for failure, man. You're absolutely right.
I'm not going to roll out there and just play. and that's what's so
exactly. Get the blame. Yeah, I love that too. Yeah,
that's what's so offensive about it is like you're disrespecting the talent, and you're saying if you don't conform, it's like NFL football mentality, plantation style. If you don't do what the coach who looks a certain way says to do and do it right now, anytime we want, we don't give a shit about you or that, trying to facilitate, you're the problem and we're going to get you out of here. Joe Lacob, that is the ecosystem you've created. And I see what the people who look like in your administration. I see who you struggle to hire, and I see who you struggle to bring in on your roster. I see it. We all see it on this show. And you're
starting to see people at a larger clip speak up about the optics that you're referencing. It ain't a good look. It isn't. And I'm with you on that. This whole thing stinks.
Dancing on the court during losses.
What's up?
Dancing on the court during losses. What a joke, man. What a joke.
I love that Keen brought up the fact that like 95% of these trolls who get into my replies every time they get offended about a Steve Kerr critique, they're almost all profiles with no picture, no names. And it does make me wonder routinely, especially with today, Anthony Edwards getting busted for a burner account. I don't know if you saw that story. Anthony Edwards started an Instagram live with an account called Believe That Jack. And about 5 seconds in, he's like, oops, and he shut it down. And all it did was make everyone realize, oh, nice burner. You just got exposed. And I think about that a lot. Like how many of these people in these replies on social media are in fact Steve Kerr and his cronies who are just trying to defend him, like Pajemski and his cronies. Like these guys have family members, they have friends. Like it wouldn't surprise me if they're out there trying to paint their boy in a better light. Ain't a good look at all.
Hey, Sai, are the Warriors, in terms of ranking the organizations, the Jazz and the Celtics, where do the Warriors stand on that look a certain way ranking? Are we
roster-wise or front office-wise or all the above?
All of it, culture. Are we at the Utah Jazz, Boston Celtics level?
I'm not going to push back because I can't think of anything that would – there's no data that would indicate otherwise, but I'd also have to take a look at the rest of the 27 teams. What I'm trying to say is, like, if you ended up being proven right, it wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me at all.
Joe Lacob, that's your team. That's what you traded.
Go, Joe. Well, look, Monday, we're going to have a crossover episode with, I think his name is Bryce Lewis. He hosts Believe in Hawks. And we're bringing him on largely because I want to learn a little more about Kristaps Porzingis. He wants to learn a little more about Jonathan Kuminga. And together, we're just going to talk hoops and have fun. This is going to be Monday. Tuesday is the I-80 crossover with Mark Haynes. We haven't done a show together in a little while. I'm trying to get Ramona Shelburne back, but it occurred to me she's so busy. I forgot the All-Star games in LA, and so and ESPN makes all their NBA folks work during this break, so it's not really a break for them. Aaron Turner, I'm trying to get back on. He's busy, but I know we got to wrap up here. I think I'm going to do a live show tomorrow just to get through the emails, just to let people voice whatever frustrations they may have or express any thoughts or ideas they may have. So apologies that we didn't get to the audience today, but Armando, any final thoughts from you as we wrap it up?
Only thing I want to give a shout out is March 21st. I'll come up with a flyer. Be at the Aloha Club in Oakland in Fruitvale, the longest bar in California, I think it is, or longest bar in Oakland, and the
largest, like literal bar, like the physical structure.
There's a taco truck in the back. There's parking, and it's right across the street from Bart. We are going to watch the Hawks versus the Warriors, 7 p.m. on a Saturday.
March 21st.
We're trying to figure out if we will do a live Sprewell Was Right show. Cousin Andres will be there. The friend Evan Ball will be there.
Yeah.
and we're gonna have a good time. It'll be fun. We're just gonna watch a game. It'll you know, only the 58 subscribers can come. So that's the only caveat. We're gonna check if you're on the list.
What's the name of the establishment again in Fruitvale?
It's called the Aloha Club.
Aloha Club. And you have not reached out to them personally to see if they're interested in sponsoring or what the Wi-Fi is?
No, I haven't. You want me to?
Yeah. Are you kidding
right.
me? We're business. And I had a meeting with a media strategist on some ideas. And he actually opened my eyes to a few things in terms of growing the show. But yeah, we're a business, man.
Right.
Tracy McKindle in the chat real quick saying that
I gotta go, man. I'm sorry.
you gotta run. Okay. Go run. We'll see you next week. Happy Hour Friday. Tracy McKindle, I agree with your theory. If you're watching on YouTube, you saw the visual. Thanks everybody. Follow Armando. Sprewell Was Right on YouTube, and we'll be back. I'll be back very soon. I think maybe Rick Barry will join me tomorrow. Maybe I'll just do a solo show. I think I'm going to do an episode tomorrow though, just to get through the emails because a lot of great ones. Many thanks to the Professor Armando Lara. Many thanks to all of you, and we're back soon. Bye bye.